I have been locked in mutual torment with Theodore for nearly 10 years. He flaunted one lover after another in public, while I clung tightly to most of his fortune and refused to let go. We each held the other's fatal weakness, and neither of us was willing to be the first to back down. But today, I am ready to divorce him, because I am dying. Chapter 1. I stared at the diagnosis report in my hand for a long time before finally dialing Theodore's number. Where are you? What does it have to do with you? We are husband and wife. Yet even asking about each other's whereabouts is considered an overstep. Come back, I said, tapping on the table. We're getting divorced. Heh. A cold laugh came from the other end before the call was cut off. That made sense. I'd used this trick far too many times. Most of the time, it was nothing more than an excuse to get him to see me. Of course he didn't believe me. I waited 2 days. He didn't come back. Staring at the diagnosis report that marked the end of my life, I didn't want to waste a single second more. I grabbed my bag and walked out. If I wanted to find Theodore, there was still another way, one that never failed. Bang, bang, bang. I knocked lightly on the door in front of me. A delicate, doe-eyed girl appeared in my sight. Miss Christiana. Her eyes were filled with terror, as if I could dismember her through the door alone. Rolling my eyes, I said to her, "Hey, tell Theodore to come home. Say I want a divorce. Make sure you pass it on properly. Out of all his lovers, you're the one I like the most. Once we're divorced, maybe you'll become Mrs. Theodore." The delicate girl's eyes reddened. Christiana, I never thought about that. I sighed and cut her off. Don't disgust me. Just pass on the message. If he doesn't come home by tomorrow, I'll pry this door open and smash your place. You think a cheap doorbell can stop me? Too lazy to waste words on her, I turned and left. If nothing unexpected happened, I'd see Theodore tonight. Miriam was his favorite. With me showing up to provoke her, how could he possibly endure it? As night fell, he rushed toward me in a fury. Didn't I tell you not to go looking for Miriam again? I slowly poured myself a glass of red wine and looked at him. So what? I went. What are you going to do about it? He was furious but couldn't actually do anything to me. So he said things I didn't want to hear. I don't know what you're trying to achieve. Miriam is already obedient enough. There's no love between us anymore. Yet you refuse to divorce me and won't even let me keep someone I like by my side? You just want everyone to be as lonely as you are, don't you? Bang. I smashed the glass in my hand. He was right. I was lonely. That was why, all these years, I had held on to him so tightly. Even knowing there was no love left between us, I still refused to divorce him. Yeah. I tilted my head and looked at him, refusing to lose verbally. I'm in hell. How could I let you go to heaven? But inside, I was exhausted. In these past few years, every time I saw Theodore, we were at each other's throats. What was the point? I poured myself another drink and sat across from him, placing the divorce agreement in front of him. Sign it, even if I'm going to hell. I don't want to see you there. We already can't stand the sight of each other while alive. Don't come disgust me after death, either. Theodore opened the divorce agreement with a stiff expression and began reading. I watched him through the glass. He was still handsome, thick brows, deep-set eyes, a high nose, thin lips. Well, no wonder he was so heartless. How unfair the heavens were, letting some people remain strikingly good-looking for 10 years straight. What are you up to now? He glared at me warily. I sneered. I only want this house. Everything else goes to you. I give up all our shared assets. Can't you see that? Perhaps because I'd always demanded too much before, my sudden concession now made him suspicious. This house was our marital home. It was old and wouldn't sell for much, but I truly didn't want another woman living here with him. I was petty and narrow-minded. I couldn't stand seeing him in love with someone else. Besides, even if it wasn't worth much, selling it would be enough to buy a burial plot with decent feng shui. A home and life exchanged for a resting place in death. I came with empty hands and would leave with empty hands. It felt light. Theodore cautiously flipped through the agreement again and again before finally saying, I'll have my lawyer draft a new one. The house will be yours. On top of that, I'll give you 10 million. We'll be completely even. I raised my eyebrow. He was generous, using 10 million to easily buy out 10 years of our relationship. Your lawyer? Why should I trust your lawyer? You don't trust mine, so I should trust yours? See, I was already incapable of speaking to Theodore properly. Even at the moment I was about to set him free, I couldn't resist stabbing him with a few words. Feeling deflated, I softened my voice. Forget it. I agree. He took the agreement and headed for the door. My assistant will bring the new agreement tomorrow. You'd better sign it immediately. He had waited far too long for this day. I suspected he'd even call his lawyers in the middle of the night to hold an emergency meeting, wondering whether I was setting some kind of trap. I shrugged and said fine, whatever. The sooner the better. He still looked at me suspiciously and raised another condition. I hope that after you take the money, you won't continue living in City C. We should both have our own lives, right? Bitterness welled up in my chest, but I briskly pushed him out and shut the door behind him. Out of sight, out of mind. Chapter 2. Theodore's assistant truly lived up to his high salary. When he handed me the agreement, he even addressed me respectfully, President Lin. Everyone in the company knew that Theodore and I were at odds. Miriam, in particular, had made a grand show of delivering him homemade love lunches every day. Theodore played along deliberately, just to disgust me. He actually arranged for Miriam to join the company as my assistant. It didn't last long. She soon went home, and Theodore started pushing for the divorce. I stopped going to the company after that. Hardly anyone still called me President Lin. The young man in front of me was the only one who did. I flipped open the agreement and signed my name on the final page. He said you could take a look at it again. No need, I replied. There's nothing left worth looking at. Smiling, I handed the agreement back to him. Tell your boss, 1 month from now, at the Civil Affairs Bureau. He'd better not be late. Don't waste the little time I have left. Yes. The young man excused himself politely. One after the other, we walked out. Theodore didn't want me staying in City C. I didn't want to stay either. Like fallen leaves returning to their roots, I wanted to go home. The journey went smoothly, and soon I was standing on the soil of City G. Come to think of it, I hadn't been back in nearly 5 years. My first stop was the cemetery. Dad, Mom, Grandpa, Grandma, I'm here to see you. Theodore was right. I really was lonely. I leaned against a gravestone and sat down. My parents died in a car accident when I was very young. After I graduated from college, my grandparents passed away one after another. I buried them close together. It felt more convenient for visits. I even bought myself a plot nearby. First, because I miss you all a bit too much. Second, I laughed softly. I think the feng shui here is pretty good. I didn't stay long. Early winter had already turned cold, and fine snowflakes drifted down, chilling my feet. All right, I'll head back now. We'll be seeing each other soon anyway. Then we can talk properly. I have to tell you everything that bastard Theodore has done over these years. Muttering to myself, I brushed off my clothes and turned to leave the cemetery. It was just after school dismissal. I passed by City G High School and paused. The children in school uniforms were all smiles. During school days, nothing made people happier than time off, even something as small as a weekend. I stood at the gate for a long while before finally stepping inside. Hey, what are you doing? The old guard stopped me. I said anxiously. The teacher called for a parent, sir. I'm really in a hurry. The teacher will get upset if I'm late. Maybe my eyes were red. Or maybe my acting was convincing enough. The guard eventually let me through. I let out a long breath and wandered leisurely around the campus. Some students were sweeping with brooms. A mischievous boy grabbed a snowball and stuffed it into a girl's coat, only to be chased around the yard with a broom in her hand. I smiled at them. In a blink, it felt like I could see my younger self, and the younger Theodore. I shook my head and walked toward the teaching building, following my memories to senior year. Class 5. Still on the first floor. The classroom was empty. I gently tugged at the door. Click. It opened. I stepped inside, one step at a time, as if the stale air could carry traces of the past. Counting silently, I sat in the seat that used to be mine, burying my head in my arms. 1, 2, 3. That was my old trick in school. As long as I counted to 3, Theodore would appear in front of me. I raised my head. The bright-faced teenage boy stood beside my desk, reaching out his hand. Christiana, let's go home. The most dazzling sunset of the day poured over him, as if gilding him in golden light. 1, 2, 3. I opened my eyes. The dream shattered before me. I exhaled, dispelling the fantasies that shouldn't have existed, and stood up to leave. Before going, I turned back one last time. In the silent classroom, a girl lifted her head, smiling as she took the boy's hand and said yes. With a blink of an eye, it vanished like a bubble. All of it, gone, never to return. Chapter 3. I stayed in City G for a month. Winter came earlier there. When I set foot back in City C, I even found it surprisingly warm. Why did you take so long? Theodore didn't look very happy. I lazily yawned, shot him a look, and walked straight inside. What? Getting divorced and you still bring your lover along? Divorce here, get married over there? Seeing Miriam standing timidly behind him irritated me, and my words came out sharp. Watch how you speak. Miriam isn't feeling well today. I'm taking her to the hospital in a bit. I rubbed my hands, even more annoyed. Oh, fine then. You take her for a checkup first. I'm not in a rush, I'll wait. Theodore reached out to pull me. Hurry up. Don't make trouble. My stubborn streak kicked in. I stood my ground. You're forcing me now? In public, aren't you embarrassed? Miriam started crying behind him again, whispering, Don't fight. Don't fight. A wave of nausea rose in my chest. Theodore, if you weren't humiliating me like this, I'd have gotten the divorce done immediately. Now you've got two choices, either knock me out and drag me in to do it with you, or get lost. Theodore's face flushed a dark, ugly red. He shot me a vicious glare, grabbed Miriam, and left. The bitterness in my chest wouldn't dissipate. After thinking it over, I bought a baseball bat nearby, weighed it in my hand, found it comfortable enough, and immediately took a taxi to Miriam's place. I called a locksmith and property management. Who's the registered owner of this apartment? The property staff answered respectfully, Mr. Theodore. I smiled and showed them my marriage certificate. This is joint marital property. Please open the door for me. The locksmith opened it neatly. I dismissed them and strode inside. Theodore really liked taking photos with her. He never smiled. But there were many pictures. After we graduated, Theodore was always busy, so we rarely took photos together anymore. First, we slept back to back, then in separate rooms. Later, we lived apart. That was when I realized our relationship had completely broken because Theodore began bringing different women to his residence. I walked around once and lightly smashed a purple jade ornament. It had been my grandmother's favorite when she was alive. I had bought it intending to give it to her. But fate was cruel. She didn't survive that winter. No wonder I couldn't find it. So Theodore had taken it to please his lover. Heh. I didn't hesitate anymore. I swung the bat hard, the air whistling as it cut through. Before long, everything in the room was smashed to pieces. Perhaps I'd used too much force. Drip. Drip. Liquid began falling onto the floor. I lifted my head, wiped away the blood, then lowered it, meeting the shocked gaze of Miriam and the furious eyes of Theodore. Christiana. Ugh. I pretended to retch. Don't say my name. It makes me want to throw up. I pressed the baseball bat against Theodore's chest and said each word slowly. Tomorrow, Civil Affairs Bureau. I'd vented my anger. I didn't want to maintain this marriage for even one more day. Christiana. I've tolerated you for a long time. Theodore snarled, veins bulging on his forehead as he slammed me against the wall. My nose started bleeding again. I tilted my head back and forced it to stop. What's wrong with you? Theodore loosened his grip. I easily stepped away. I'm overheated, angry because of you and your little lover, I said, resting the bat on my shoulder. Theodore, I've tolerated you for a long time too. Get the divorce done. You walk your broad, sunlit road. I walk my narrow bridge. Don't see each other again in this lifetime. In the next one either. It hurt too much. It really hurt too much. After last time's lesson, Theodore came alone the next day. We didn't say a single word. We signed immediately. When the stamp came down, we finally received the divorce certificate. Theodore didn't want to say one extra word to me. He turned around cleanly and never looked back. I stared at his back for a long time. Suddenly, I remembered a winter night long ago, when he stuffed a warm hot water bottle into my hands and said, Christiana, you go first. I'll watch you leave. Such warm hands, such burning eyes. They had kept many winter nights from feeling cold, letting out a breath of white air. I wiped away my tears and got on the vehicle leaving City C. Theodore, we probably won't ever meet again. Chapter 4. I checked myself into a hospital and began treatment half-heartedly. Bed 18. Why did you pull out the 4 again? The one scolding me with her hands on her hips was a trainee nurse. She was very young, worked briskly, and when it came to lecturing people, she showed no mercy at all. I hunched my shoulders and obediently took the scolding. Do you even want to get treated or not? I rolled my eyes and said half seriously, half jokingly, I just think it's too cold. Really, could you get me a small hot water bottle? The girl looked at me with suspicion but still brought over a delicate hand warmer. Cheeks puffed with annoyance. No more secretly pulling out your 4. She bent down to warn me. Doesn't it hurt? I looked into her eyes and, for once, my nose felt a little sore. It had been a long time since anyone asked whether I was in pain. Everyone who ever cared about me was already gone from this world. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Thanks for the trouble, Nurse Zara. Saying it didn't hurt was a lie. In just half a month, my hands had been pricked so many times they were almost numb. At night, the pain kept me from sleeping, so I wandered around the corridors pushing my 4 stand. Only Nurse Zara was at the nurse's station, quietly wiping away her tears. I lightly tapped on her desk. What's wrong? Shoo. She glanced around to make sure no one was there before whispering, why aren't you sleeping? I pointed at the 4 stand. Can't sleep, just taking a walk. She studied my complexion, then reached out to touch my forehead. Are you in pain? She asked worriedly. I had meant to say no, but somehow, I nodded. She motioned for me to come over. I pushed open the nurse's station door and sat beside her. We shared a huge piece of overly sweet bread, watched 5 episodes of a melodramatic, toxic romance drama together, and went through an entire pack of tissues. It wasn't until dawn began to break that she urged me back to my room. Wait and watch it with me next time. I told her, I remember the plot, you're not allowed to sneak ahead. Zara smiled and agreed. Go back and sleep. After watching late-night dramas with Zara 3 times, one night, I received a call from Theodore. Where are you? I raised an eyebrow. What's it got to do with you? Back when we were married, he didn't even have the right to ask that. Now that we were divorced, he suddenly did? He was clearly choked by my reply and hung up decisively. My good mood vanished in an instant, and I angrily added him to my blacklist as well. Zara was waiting beside me to watch TV and asked softly, was that your family member? I waved my hand. I don't have family. Everyone in my family is dead. Zara pointed at the phone. Then what about him? I glanced at the screen, thought for a moment, and said, him? He's just an annoying person, a very annoying person. It was just one phone call and caused no real ripples in my life. I still slept and received treatment during the day, wandered around at night, and watched dramas with Zara whenever she was on duty. But a nuisance wouldn't appear only once. A week later, I received a message from an unfamiliar number. You blocked me? I curled my lip and blocked that number too. Theodore had made some money over the years, and I didn't know who had spoiled him into having this stubborn, won't give up until he gets what he wants attitude. I had finally managed to fall asleep when his barrage of calls jolted me awake. Oh, right. He used to be a spoiled rich kid too. Hello, I answered, my tone awful, eyes barely open. Why aren't you at home? Theodore's voice came through the phone. TSK. I was impatient, but still forced myself to ask, what do you want? Which card should I transfer the money to? Anyone is fine. It's such a trivial thing. Why are you calling me about it? Don't hang up. I brought the phone closer. Say it fast. Get it out. Why aren't you at home? He went on in circles again. Then a spark of realization hit me. You're at my place? I advise you to get out quickly. I've already listed the house with an agency. Someone might come to view it any time. Get out and don't block my way to making money. You're selling it? His voice jumped several pitches. You're selling that house? Suppressing my impatience, I said, if I don't sell it, am I supposed to keep it to give birth in? Stop the nonsense and get out. Where are you? He sounded unusually serious. None of your damn business. I lost all patience, hung up, blocked, and deleted him in one clean sweep, then couldn't fall back asleep no matter what. I lay awake until dawn, cursing Theodore in my heart 10 million times. Chapter 5. No matter how angry I got, I still had to be obediently dragged by Nurse Zara to treatment. Back in my hometown, it was inevitable to run into people from the past. Christiana? I looked over at the voice. It was my best friend from high school. Camila? When old friends meet, catching up is unavoidable. That day, with Nurse Zara's approval, I was granted a rare short outing. I chose hot pot. Are you doing well? Camila asked cautiously. I smiled. Not bad. I've got plenty of money, but not much time left. Her hand holding the chopsticks trembled, and she froze as she stared at me. I focused on putting a slice of meat into my mouth, only to realize she was already crying, tears falling one after another. Hey, what's wrong? I hurriedly pulled out some tissues to wipe her tears, suddenly flustered. What illness is it? I waved it off. An incurable one. It's fine, I won't die right away. Looking out the window, I said softly, I want to die on a sunny day. Winter is still too cold. You and David, are you still the same? I asked. At the mention of David, her eyes dimmed a little. She nodded quietly. I didn't try to persuade her. Not everyone has to figure everything out. As long as you're happy while you're alive, that's enough. Can I ask you a favor? I asked her as we stepped outside, stomping my feet against the cold. Of course. Don't tell anyone you ran into me, and if you have time, come see me more often. Maybe it was the cold wind, but her eyes reddened. Okay. Does Theodore know? She asked. No, we're divorced. He doesn't need to know. Camila didn't say anything more. We both stared silently ahead. Back in school, Theodore and I had been an inseparable young couple. Camila had been David's shadow, following him everywhere. The north wind howled. No matter how good the times once were, they were nothing more than fleeting clouds, gone in the blink of an eye. When I returned to the ward, Nurse Zara caught me red-handed for not following dietary rules and scolded me harshly. I listened obediently and promised never to do it again. Instead of backing off, she advanced, holding a pair of clippers, ready to cut my hair. I guarded it with my life. We argued for 2 whole days. It was just one meal out. I won't go again. Why do you have to cut my hair? I protested. Nurse Zara tried to reason with me. You're about to start chemotherapy. Chemo makes your hair fall out anyway. Cutting it short is better. I thought for a moment and asked, then if I don't do chemotherapy, won't that solve it? Nurse Zara exploded in anger. I laughed and tried to placate her. All right. I'll think about it. She was about to say more when a tall figure walked in and came straight toward me. Who are you looking for? She asked. He ignored her, just staring at me coldly, as if trying to read some hidden scheme off my face. He's here for me, I said. Nurse Zara, please spare my hair and go back to work. She frowned at the man, then at me, and whispered, call me if you need anything. I nodded and watched her leave. Turning back to Theodore, I asked, aren't you spending New Year's with Miriam? Valentine's Day, Christmas, New Year, Miriam always had one excuse or another to take Theodore away. For a time, I even hated holidays. They made me look even more painfully alone. Later I got used to it. Spending them alone wasn't so bad. Yet he still showed up to be a nuisance. What trick are you playing now? He asked. My chest tightened. So even when you're used to sharp blades, it still hurts when they cut you open. I sighed. Yes. This is my new trick. Don't fall for it. You should leave quickly. Come with me. He reached out as if to grab me, catching me off guard and pulling me a few steps forward. Let go of me. I shook his hand off, my tone turning sharp. We have nothing to do with each other now. Understand? Why are you even here? He released me and stepped back 2 paces. Don't even think about using illness as an excuse to get more money from me. You know it, we're already divorced. I took shallow breaths, feeling as if the blood in my heart had stopped flowing, waves of numbness spreading. I didn't even want to say another word to him. I could only push him toward the door. Get out right now. Take your lousy money and go find your little lover. Disappear from my sight. The last sentence came out almost as a hoarse scream. Theodore clenched his jaw, straightened his collar, then turned around, shut the door behind him, and left. Chapter 6. Nurse Zara opened the door with concern. Are you okay? I asked with a deathly pale face. If I say I'm not okay, can I skip the 4? Nope. Then I'm fine. After that incident, Theodore didn't appear in front of me again, and I enjoyed another week of relative peace. Camila, on the other hand, kept coming to see me. Even though we never talked much, both afraid that one careless sentence might touch a sore spot, we still got along fairly well. I was always hoping she could secretly bring me some junk food. But every time it ended with Nurse Zara catching us and confiscating everything. I was speechless. The Lunar New Year crept closer day by day. Nurse Zara secretly told me, "It's getting colder and colder." I smiled. This kind of weather freezes people to death the easiest. I exhaled white breath and counted the time. Even when I was let out for some air, I still had to return to the ward on time, or Nurse Zara would lecture me again. When I turned around, I used too much force and bumped into someone, dizzy and seeing stars. I stepped back apologetically. Sorry, rubbing my forehead. I tried to walk past him, but he grabbed me backhandedly. Christiana. Theodore's face appeared in front of me again. If it hadn't been so cold that I was too lazy to lift my hand, I really would have slapped him. What do you want? I glared at him without flinching. He looked far less polished than last time, stubble all over his face. His features visibly worn. What? We've only been divorced a few days and you're already mismanaging things into bankruptcy? Did your little lover dump you? I mocked him sarcastically. Strangely enough, he didn't argue back. He just stood there, staring straight at me. I shivered, rolled my eyes, and walked toward the room. Christiana. I jumped 3 meters away on instinct. What? Theodore hadn't called me that in a long time. The unfamiliar tone made my heart uneasy. A trace of awkwardness flashed in his eyes. Why didn't you tell me you were sick? My head filled with question marks. What does it have to do with you? Silence fell between us. At the very least, we used to be husband and wife. I snorted coldly and looked at him. No, don't talk about husband and wife feelings. The thing I regret most in my life is ever having feelings for you. Let's stick to what we agreed on from the start. I leave City C. You live your life properly. And don't come bother me. I tossed my head and walked away. Theodore didn't leave, he just followed me. Maybe it was because I'd been seeing Theodore too often. But I couldn't sleep well again that night. Checking the schedule, I saw it was Nurse Zara's shift. So I simply pushed my 4 stand and wandered out. As soon as I opened the door, I was startled by a curled-up figure on the bench to the left. I walked around and, under the moonlight, finally saw clearly it was Theodore's face. Without any courtesy, I kicked him awake. What are you doing here? He woke up groggily, not even angry, just looking me over. What are you going to do? Are you feeling unwell? My throat tightened. I said irritably, I'll feel fine everywhere as long as you disappear from my sight. He rubbed his face. I'm not leaving. It took me a long time to finally find you. Why are you looking for me? He didn't answer. I didn't want to stand there arguing with him. Leave already, or I'll report you for occupying public resources. After throwing that line at him, I happily ran off to watch TV dramas with Nurse Zara. During the commercials, Nurse Zara leaned closer and whispered, "That man stood outside your door for a long time today. He just watched, didn't go in." I guessed it was while I was napping in the afternoon. I'd shaken him off and thought he left. Who knew he'd come back? Ignore him. He'll leave after a while. A warm home, a flourishing company, he had all that waiting for him. I had nothing but cold words here. Someone as self-centered as Theodore wouldn't stay long. He asked us for your medical records, she added. I curled my lip and said nothing. I didn't give them to him, but others might. He said he's your husband. I immediately panicked. That's a misunderstanding. This needs to be clarified. We're ex-husband and wife. XX. I honestly don't know whether he's here out of concern for me or because he's eyeing the bit of money I got from him. Nurse Zara instantly became alert, staring defensively behind me. What are you doing? I turned around and almost had a heart attack. What are you doing? Following me around like this? Theodore said grimly. It's not about the money. I let out a long sigh and looked up at the ceiling. If it's not about the money, then what could it possibly be? With no other choice, I dragged him back to the ward, sat cross-legged on the bed, and prepared to talk to him. Chapter 7. Fine. You win. Happy now? What exactly do you want me to do? How much money do you want? How much do you need? Theodore said nothing. He tucked my hand back under the blanket, then reached out to steady the foreline, smiling at me. Get some sleep, okay? Don't do this. I waved him off. How about this? You just prepare the transfer papers. I'll sign them, and then you get lost. Deal? Theodore gritted his teeth and glared at me. Christiana, that mouth of yours is going to piss me to death one day. I snorted. Sorry. Then I'll probably die before you. When hell freezes over, Theodore cries. I'm not dead yet and you're already shedding crocodile tears? I waved my hand in front of his eyes, my chest tightening even more. Christiana, I regret it. Don't scare me, okay? Theodore's eyes were red as he reached out to hook his finger around mine. After all these years, he still knew exactly how to soften me. Back in school, whenever he made me angry, all he had to do was sit in front of me, lower his head, hook my finger, soften his voice and say, Christiana, Christiana, don't be mad. You're the best. Christiana, I like you the most. Don't be mad, okay? Get lost. I was so angry that I suddenly stood up and kicked him hard. I hated it most when he pretended to be 18 again just to please me, because every time I forgave him, he'd turn around and use those same 18-year-old eyes to hurt me. What I hated even more was myself, always being soft-hearted. Theodore stood up as if utterly heartbroken. I'll be right outside. If you miss me, just call me, okay? Get out. One more second, and I'd cry. How could I not miss him? But no matter how much I did, the 18-year-old Theodore was long gone. The 28-year-old Theodore, I didn't even dare think about him. Nurse Sarah was going home for the new year. She reminded me carefully. Take your medicine properly. Get your IVs properly. No pulling out needles. No wandering around. I obediently recited after her. Take my medicine properly. Get my IVs properly. Won't pull out needles. Won't wander around. She was very satisfied. I leaned on the counter and asked her, can you prescribe a bit more painkillers? It hurts so much at night. Nurse Zara shook her head and leaned closer. Then why don't you just let that man come in and keep you company? It is New Year's. I pouted and said no. Just knowing he was outside the door made me feel worse. When the heart hurts, the body hurts even more. On New Year's Eve, Theodore wasn't guarding outside my ward anymore. I didn't care. I wandered around on my own and went back to my room to watch TV. Firecrackers crackled outside. I stood by the window, soaking in a bit of festive cheer. Knock, knock. Christiana, Happy New Year. Theodore blinked at me, smiling, holding a cake. In the night, only the candlelight flickered in his eyes. Christiana, make a wish, he said eagerly, pushing the cake toward me. I held onto the doorframe and didn't move, looking at him with a complicated expression. Theodore, you're really boring. I blew out the candle in one breath. 2 years ago, on New Year's Eve, I said I felt lonely spending it alone and wanted you to stay with me. You came back, but at 11 that night, you said you had to leave. You said there was a big project, that the partner's CEO wasn't celebrating New Year and you had to work overtime. What overtime? I heard it all. Miriam said she was scared. She wanted you to stay with her. I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe. That night, I spent New Year's alone. I felt that winter was unbearably cold, and that the new year meant nothing. From that day on, I stopped looking forward to New Year's altogether. You forgot. I didn't. I stopped expecting New Year's a long time ago, and I no longer have New Year's anymore. Theodore's hands were shaking, as if he wanted to find some excuse to cover it up. I didn't want to hear it. I know, she wasn't pregnant back then. You went to keep her company. That was only right. What I regret most is that I didn't see it clearly at the time. That I still hoped you'd come back to me. If I'd woken up then, maybe now I'd still be able to make New Year's wishes. I want to live to 100. Can you make that come true for me? I slammed the door shut behind me. I didn't know if it hit his face. Hopefully it did, hard enough to ruin it. Chapter 8. Camila came to see me and cautiously pointed outside the door. The one out there, is that Theodore? I corrected her with righteous seriousness. No, that's a nuisance. Camila smiled helplessly. Do you really have to cut it? Cut it. I said. Nurse Zara is too busy. Don't take up her time. You do it for me. I'm still a bit reluctant. Camila worked in silence, helping me say goodbye to my long hair. Looking at myself in the mirror, I thought, yeah, I really look like a patient now, a terminal one. I could no longer wander around much. The pain had started to take over. I asked Nurse Zara to help me find a caregiver, someone quick and efficient, good with their hands. I've got money. Nurse Zara kept her word. The next day, she brought someone over, but before the caregiver even made it through the door, Theodore stopped her. I'll take care of you, he said. His movements were gentle, but his tone was firm. I was in too much pain to talk, but I still forced out a word. Get lost. I've heard that too many times. I'm immune now. That just made my chest feel even tighter. How could I forget? Theodore was my natural nemesis, always doing the exact opposite of what I wanted. When the pain eased a little, I smashed everything within reach and told him to get out. He half-crouched in front of me. Christiana, let's go back to City C for treatment, okay? Tilting my head, I asked him, Theodore, do you even understand what terminal means? All this treatment is just delaying death. I don't want to be treated, and I didn't want to go back to City C either. That place was filled with memories I despised. How could that be? Things will get better. They definitely will. I shook off his hand. So what if they do? My family is all underground. I'm just going to reunite with them. Why do you keep stopping me from having a family reunion? Christiana, we're also family, aren't we? Don't you remember? Theodore, you should get yourself scanned tomorrow. I think you're the one who needs treatment. We're divorced. Do I need to hang a banner on your head for you to remember that? I took a deep breath. Is it that you're especially attracted to sick girls? Wasn't the first girl you liked your assistant? She got sick, went to the hospital for 4 drips, and you got together with her? And later Miriam was running to the hospital every other day too. Suddenly it clicked. Got it. You just like fragile, sickly beauties. Theodore shook his head, his face pale. That's a pretty weird fetish. Honestly, you should get that checked sooner rather than later. Even looking at his face now made me nauseous. I'm warning you, stop blocking me from hiring a caregiver. Even if I die tomorrow, I won't leave you a cent. I'll withdraw it all and throw it out the window before I give it to you. With reddened eyes, Theodore took out a basin and placed it under me. Do whatever you want. He patted my back while crying. I felt even more disgusted and threw up everything I'd eaten that night. After that, Theodore didn't stop the caregiver from coming in anymore. Sometimes he even helped the caregiver aunt with her work. I turned a blind eye, treating it as indulging his strange obsession. As long as he didn't hover in front of me, it was fine. On the Lantern Festival, the caregiver took a day off. I happily agreed. After all, her little grandson spoke in a baby-soft voice, and I adored him. Fireworks were still going off outside. I leaned against the window, watching. Christiana, it's cold by the window. I turned to look at Theodore. He hadn't left. He'd stayed here for over a month now, sleeping on the bench outside. At first, Nurse Zara tried to chase him away. Later, she quietly told me, he always warms your 4 fluids when you're asleep. I didn't have the heart to kick him out. Theodore, want to go for a walk? The Lantern Festival was different. When we were young, on this day every New Year, Theodore would secretly sneak out of his house, take my hand, and bring me to the snack street behind the school, spending his lucky money on treats for me. Theodore's family was powerful. He always had to slip away from various gatherings, appearing in front of me in a little suit like a prince. Of all the days in a year, this was the one I looked forward to most. I once asked him, what if your family doesn't agree to us being together? Theodore laughed brightly, gently hugging me. Christiana, then we'll elope, just like now. And later, it really did happen. His family wanted him to marry someone of equal status. They didn't want him marrying an orphan with no relatives. He refused outright. And on one Lantern Festival, he took me away from the city. I'll never forget that bumpy train ride. Curled up in his arms, I don't have family anymore. Theodore, he held me tightly. Christiana, then we'll make a new family. I'll be your family. The warmth of his hand that year, the heart pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out of his throat, I remember it all. Vows once rang clearly in my ears. Now everything had changed. We'd done so much for each other. How did it end up like this? I couldn't figure it out. So I stopped trying. I want that, I said, pointing at a grilled sausage. Christiana, he looked troubled. I pouted and stepped forward, ready to buy it myself. All right, I'll get it for you. Stand here and wait for me, there's a lot of smoke over there. Don't go. I took a bite, thoroughly satisfied, finally finding a long-lost taste of my younger days. Then I ordered Theodore around to buy me candied hawthorns, fish balls, and shaved ice. I couldn't hold it all, so I reluctantly used Theodore as a human support, taking a bite here and a nibble there. Christiana, he suddenly said. Shut up. I glanced at him. If you annoy me, go back. Christiana, eat a little less, he said, his voice catching. When I looked up, I could only see the redness around his eyes. What are you crying for? Are you staying here just to see when I die? I sighed, shook him off, and walked a long way ahead. Christiana, I said the wrong thing. Theodore hurried after me, whispering, want to eat a bit more? No, I was upset, so I wasn't about to let him be happy. All of this is bad for your body. Do you want me to die earlier? I snapped. Theodore lowered his gaze, seeing me about to leave. He still reached out and tugged at the corner of my clothes. Christiana, want some rice noodles? That place in the back street. That was a shop we went to every year. My favorite. Maybe it was the temptation of food. Maybe it was the group of young students rushing past us. Or maybe it was the way Theodore lowered his head in his suit, overlapping perfectly with some year, some moment, some instant from the past. I nodded. Okay. Chapter 9. The noodle shop had changed owners. The previous owner was a chubby middle-aged guy. Now it was run by a young couple. They looked friendlier, but I still missed the old owner. The food tasted different too, more innovative. I only ate a few bites. Theodore barely touched his food either. When we went to pay, the young couple stopped us. May we ask, was the food not to your liking? We noticed you hardly ate. I waved my hand. No, it's not that. It's just that I liked the old one better. Food is like that. People too. Once something changes, it changes. What's gone can't be kept. We walked back side by side. Fireworks started going off again overhead. I looked at Theodore's face and thought, people who are loved really do have privileges. Make a wish, he said. There are fireworks. I stopped, sniffed, and looked at him. Hurry up. Theodore bent down, leaning close to my cheek, looking straight at me. He said seriously, if heaven can hear me, I wish I could go back to the past. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. Heaven heard you, and replied, wishes spoken out loud don't come true. Heaven can't hear anyway. I've already made that wish 10,000 times. There's no clock that runs backward, and there is no past. The atmosphere was too gentle tonight, so I still spoke. Miriam's child, it wasn't me who caused it. Theodore's lips drooped. You let her be my assistant. And yes, I was angry, but the shameless one was you. The child wasn't even formed yet. I wouldn't stoop to harming it. Her methods were vile, and you actually believed her. The more I spoke, the angrier I became. I didn't let him inside. You're really filthy. I slammed the door shut again, hoping it would hit him hard enough to kill him. Soon, I could barely get out of bed. The doctor asked if I wanted surgery, said it carried risks. But if it succeeded, I could live a few more months. That wasn't exactly how he said it. I translated it myself. I said no. Theodore said yes. I laughed at him. You don't get a say. You're not even qualified to sign my critical condition notice anymore. He cried again. I didn't want to see it. We've had no relationship for a long time. He couldn't make decisions for me. No one in this world could anymore. I never let Theodore into my room. He slept on the chair outside for a long time. Even Nurse Zara tried to persuade me to let him come in. I was horrified. You're supposed to be on my side. Nurse Zara laughed. I am, but aren't you the one secretly covering him with a blanket? Who lost ground first? I did. Still, I didn't let him in. I told Nurse Zara, this is the only thing I'm still holding on to. At the end of life, if there was any hope at all, It was to be a little more worthy of myself. I couldn't forgive him. Forgiving him would feel like betraying myself. Since he couldn't come in, Theodore started sending me flowers. My favorite were white roses. He ordered a huge bouquet for me every single day. I fiddled with them for a while, smiled, and said to Camila, "When you come visit my grave, bring these too. I don't really like chrysanthemums." Camila took a long time before saying okay. The next day, Theodore switched to pink roses. I thought, fine. Sure enough, Camila is a little liar, a spy for the enemy. But I didn't say anything. Pink roses pleased me too. At night, I couldn't sleep well anymore. I often saw a blurry figure sitting by my bed. I wondered if my body had grown so weak, or if my departed family had come to take me away. Until the person held my hand and spoke. "Christiana, I was wrong." Oh, it was Theodore. Theodore's tears were nothing like the temperature of his hands, such a cold person, yet burning hot to the touch. I closed my eyes and went back to sleep. Telling him to get lost took too much effort. My sleep mattered more. He came to my bedside every day, always in the dead of night, saying all kinds of nonsense. "Christiana, you don't want me anymore." I don't. "Christiana, you've lost so much weight." I'm sick." "Christiana, forgive me, okay? I've sent everyone else away. From now on I'll come home on time. I'll tell you I love you every day. Just like before." My nose stung. I opened my eyes and looked at him. "Theodore, is it because you know how much I indulged you that you kept testing me like this?" He fell silent. "Christiana, I was wrong." "Wrong about what?" "You were just bored. So you went looking for someone new. You were just annoyed that the person always by your side was suddenly gone. And then you found out she was about to die. So you felt guilty." "No. I wasn't." Theodore cried the same way at 18 and at 28, pouting, tears dropping one after another. "Theodore, you stopped loving me a long time ago. Don't say things that only deceive yourself." I forced myself upright and said, "Even if I got better right now and went home with you, you'd grow tired of that life soon enough. You like novelty. If we lived together, 5 years, 10 years, you'd forget all of this again. There would still be one young girl after another showing up at my door." I wouldn't. His voice was too soft. I pretended not to hear it. "You'd bring them in front of me again and ask if I wanted a divorce. They'd say they were scared and you'd leave. They'd say they were sad and you'd abandon me to comfort them. They'd say they were pregnant, that they miscarried, and you'd automatically cast me as the villain and condemn me." "Christiana." I cut him off. "It's fine, really. I never wanted to tie you down. I was just afraid you couldn't see your own heart clearly. How could you mistake guilt for love?" Theodore covered his face and cried like an abandoned puppy. He wrapped his arms around my waist, tears soaking my clothes, repeating over and over, "I love you. I love you. Christiana, I love you." Liar. I've seen what Theodore looks like when he truly loves someone. Why does he still try to deceive me? I lifted my head and thought, I will never cry for Theodore again. Not a single tear. Chapter 10. The time I stay awake is getting shorter and shorter. Every time I open my eyes, there is a bouquet of pink roses placed by my bedside. I no longer refuse Theodore coming in and out of my ward, but I no longer look at him either. When Nurse Sarah comes to insert my 4, she secretly wipes away her tears. I feel guilty. I think it's unfair to such a young girl, a trainee nurse, facing farewell so early. I squeeze her hand. "I'll give you a gift." "What gift?" "I'll tell you if you don't cry." The girl pouts. "Who's crying?" "I'm not." I smile. "That gift." I can only tell her after I die. Theodore helps wipe my body now. I don't struggle. I just stare at him. "You've gotten a bit uglier." He panics, stops what he's doing, and asks, "Where am I not good looking?" "I can fix it." I shake my head. "Don't bother. No amount of fixing will take you back to 18 overnight." I say I still like the clean, fresh boy from back then. Theodore forces a smile and gently pulls the blanket over me. "Theodore, do you not like me anymore because I'm no longer 18? I'm genuinely curious. But he doesn't answer. He turns his back to me and sobs, his shoulders shaking violently, crying for a long time as if he might faint the next second. At night, He holds my foretube and touches my cheek. Christiana has always been beautiful. The most beautiful. Liar. Then why did you love someone else? I ignore him, turn over, and fall asleep. After the nth time begging Nurse Sarah for more painkillers, the weather finally warmed up, briefly. After a heavy snowfall, Camila comes in carrying fruit. I ask her, "Can you take me outside for a walk? It looks nice out there." She looks around. "Where's Theodore?" "Buying flowers." I say. Camila smiles faintly, wraps me in thick clothes, and pushes me outside. Passing the nurse's station, I see Nurse Zara. I smile and wave at her. She lowers her head and starts crying. I ask Camila to get me another coat and wait there by myself. "We haven't finished the drama yet," Nurse Zara says with red eyes. I smile. 300 episodes. I've watched 298 with you. There are still 2 left. She's telling me she wants me to come back. The last 2. Watch them yourself. Make sure you finish them. I'm telling her I'm going to a new world. I roughly know this state. They call it a final burst of clarity. Nurse Zara wants to say more. I wave at her. "Nurse Zara, you have to be happy, okay? Such a kind child. She deserves to live well." Camila pushes me downstairs. I ask her to stop in a patch of warm sunlight. The early spring sun is gentle. Lazily, I ask, "Camila, did you tell Theodore I'd be here?" Camila pauses, bends down, and asks, "Do you want some water?" I smile. It's okay. It's okay. David is getting married, right? This time she doesn't stay silent. "Yes. What do you think?" Her gaze drifts far away. Her voice sounds like it's carried by the wind. "I don't know." I nod and say nothing more. "Luna." I suddenly call her by her childhood nickname. Camila stiffens sharply. Her eyes redden. "Luna, do you remember, when we were in school, what wish we had?" Camila tugs at the corner of her mouth, thinks for a moment, and says, "To become a pastry chef." Back then we loved desserts the most. We wanted to make the best sweets, so everyone who ate them would be happy. Such a simple wish. Camila was raised by her mother alone. People who are alike always seek warmth from each other. We tried hard to draw close. Snowy nights are melted by warm sunlight, and Theodore was the fiercest beam of light in my life. Christiana, Christiana, Christiana. I turned my head and saw Theodore standing by the window, clutching a bouquet of pink roses and calling my name. He looked frantic, half his body leaning out the window. From afar, I watched him and thought, this is enough. Just this one glance is enough. Shall we go back? Camila reached out to push me. I raised my hand to stop her, grinning mischievously. "Luna, this is your punishment for secretly telling Theodore. You'll be the one to send me off alone." Camila's tears spilled over. I lifted my hand to wipe them away. "Luna, you know, if you ask me what I want to see most, it's exactly this moment." I secretly pointed at Theodore. He worries about me, takes care of me, is anxious for me, so anxious he's drenched in sweat because he can't find me. From the first time I met Theodore until today, it's been exactly half my life. I leaned back, trying to make myself more comfortable. Half a life. Such a long stretch of years. The good and the bad all came from him, the most sincere feelings, the most vicious words, the hardest love to let go of. I closed my eyes, my voice catching. "Luna, how did we end up falling for a single man like this? Our first dreams, our simplest wishes, our easiest happiness, how did we forget all of them?" "Luna." I reached out and gently held her wrist, whispering, "Luna, I also wish we lived in a fairy tale world, where someone would come save us whenever we met hardship. But we can't. Luna, we can't." Tears fell, splashing into my palm. "Luna, who can save us? Only we ourselves can save ourselves. Luna, I hope you're happy. You always were. You were always the one who deserved happiness the most. We were meant to be happy." Camila's lips trembled. Tears kept dropping onto my hand as she cried again and again. "Christiana, don't go. Christiana, don't go." We're used to being adults now. We rarely say words like these anymore. On the road of growing up, the most forbidden thing is childish talk. But at the edge of life and death, everything can be forgiven. I watched her cry, but no longer had the strength to wipe her tears. "Luna, Go do what you want to do, whatever it is. I hope you do what your heart truly wants, even if that means staying by David's side. Guarding a love with no ending. You must be happy. Be happy for me. Christiana. Christiana. Wake up. Do you have anything you want to say to Theodore? Camila sobbed beside me. My consciousness began to blur. It felt as though my soul was being hollowed out. I could only stiffly shake my head. What was there left to say? When we loved, we said all the sweet words. When we weren't loved, we said all the words of pleading. When our hearts died, we said so many cruel words. What could I possibly still say to him? Everything I could ever say to Theodore, I had already said in this lifetime. So this is how it is, at the end of the road. We have nothing left to say. Luna. I still curved my lips into a smile for her. It's a sunny day. A warm, sunny day, my favorite. Even on the road to the underworld. It won't be cold anymore. Christiana. Someone ran toward me. Voice hoarse and desperate. I lifted my eyes. It looked like Theodore, clutching pink roses in his arms. He stumbled as he ran toward me, as if using every last ounce of strength. In my days, I seemed to see that spring again, a boy in a blue and white school uniform, panting as he ran over, holding a hastily picked bouquet of wildflowers. His face was red with embarrassment, yet he still looked straight at me and said, Christiana, can I be your boyfriend? I promise I'll treat you well. I only smiled, took the flowers, and said, all right then, it's a deal. You're not allowed to break your word. Theodore, you mustn't break your word. But you did. That tear we once promised would never fall still slid down from the corner of my eye. Spring returns to the earth, and I sleep on, never to wake again. Theodore, extra. You don't want to see me, do you? The gravestone doesn't answer. The person in the photo only smiles. Yet I find myself missing the way she used to stand right in front of me, alive and furious, scolding me, even if it were just her swinging a bat and smashing the house to pieces. That would be fine. But it can't happen anymore. You're so cruel. I say softly. You didn't leave me a single word. You didn't even let me see you one last time, only left behind a grave you had already bought for yourself. Nurse Zara cried terribly. I continue. She said she'll never watch the last 2 episodes of that drama. She promised you she'd watch them together. The child cried so hard her eyes were swollen. I adjust the huge bouquet of roses in my hands. The money you gave her, she donated it all. You always had good judgment. Nurse Zara is a good kid. She said she chose this profession to heal and save people, and that the money should go to places where it has more meaning, where it's needed more. You were always right about people. Except me. Camila broke up with David. He didn't even get married. He just stands in front of the little shop she bought every day. Camila won't see him. I think Christiana must have said something to Camila, and she'll never tell me what it was. Christiana, why don't you ever come into my dreams? I still reach out and touch the cold surface of her photo. Then again, you probably blame me. I open a bottle of wine for myself. Christiana, I blame myself too. At the beginning, it was just novelty. Novelty, you know? But somehow, step by step, we walked so far that there was no way back. Christiana, I never wanted to divorce you. You wouldn't believe me, but I didn't want to divorce you. I thought you would never leave. You were always behind me. As long as I turned my head, you'd still be there. How could you leave? It was my greed. Christiana, you won't believe anything I say now. That's fine. If you won't come see me, then I'll come see you. I almost forgot. My wish was to have a home with you. Christiana, after you left, I really didn't have anyone else. You must think I'm ridiculous. I think I'm ridiculous too. How did it take until today to finally understand what I truly wanted? You probably think Camila told me where you were, right? She didn't. I was looking for you. Christiana, I was the one looking for you. I searched for you for so long. You weren't at home. Not at the company. I panicked. I couldn't find you. And then I found you, lying in a hospital bed. I would rather you had been lying to me, yelling at me, hitting me, anything, than for you to truly be sick. I wipe away my tears. You'd probably scold me again. Say I'm crying crocodile tears. After a moment, I say, I bought our house back. That house holds our memories. How could I sell it to someone else? And that shop behind the school, I took it over. It was your favorite. From now on, I'll run it. You'll definitely scold me. That's fine. I dream of being scolded by you. Suddenly, I remember the pastries Camila made and left in my bag. I quickly take them out and arrange them neatly. Camila insisted I bring these to you. I almost forgot. She said this was the first batch she ever made. She promised they were for you. Try them. If they don't taste good, go scold her in her dreams. Christiana, I miss you so much. Will you come into my dreams too, please? I cover my eyes and think, you probably won't. All right then, I'll come find you instead. Epilogue. After thinking for a long time, Camila still chose to bury Theodore's ashes beside Christiana. It's cold. We should head back, David said softly beside her, holding an umbrella. I thought Theodore would go down properly on his own, Camila said. David's gaze darkened. The memories were too heavy. He couldn't let them go. Then why did he act like that in the first place? David lowered his head. Because he couldn't see clearly. Camila pulled her coat tighter and turned to leave. I'll walk you back to the shop, David said. Camila pointed to a figure standing under the tree. No need. My husband is waiting for me. You should go back too. It's cold. The memories were too heavy. Who could truly let them go? If no one could see clearly, then it was only fate that they missed each other.